So I was breastfeeding one baby, and then as soon as he was done, I would stay up another 20 minutes and pump. So I was trying to save every little bit. I did have a really good stash. They actually told me to stop bringing milk. You don't have room. That's what they told me. Like, stop.
Okay.
You just keep it at home. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
And I will keep it at home.
It's a good
Right?
problem to have.
Yeah. So I still was worried about breastfeeding my other son. Later on, they told me at Lurie that my breast milk was too thin, and then they would have to give him formula, right? So I was really upset about that. And I know there's a way you can thicken formula, but I was too scared to, what if I got the proportions wrong, right? I said, okay, fine. I said, but is there a chance maybe in the future he could get my breast milk again? They said, yeah, well, there is a chance, but as of right now, we're going to start giving him formula. And so they had to give him a formula that was thickened. So again, like, my birth plan didn't happen. Now I have one breastfed baby and one baby that's going to be formula fed. But I still didn't quit pumping because just in case, you never know. The plan is, okay, I'm going to feed them both at the same time. But that's not what they wanted to do. They were usually like waking up within an hour or two of each other. They were not on the same schedule. Sometimes, not all the time. And it's sort of hard to do both of them at night. So it was really helpful to have my partner bottle feed one while I breastfed the other.
Yeah. And he was probably glad to be able to do something. I think that is one of the things that's hard for partners, is to feel like, what can I do? She has to do all of that. But there are a lot of ways that partners can support a lactating person.
Yeah. And he was still able to get breast milk, but he did get it through a bottle. I also was able to get some sleep. So
yeah. And sometimes just those few seconds that it takes to even get a crying baby ready to breastfeed, sometimes that's what the partner can do. You may be awake by then if your baby woke you up, but you're still like resting. So it sounds like your partner had a more active way that he was able to really.
Yeah. I mean, as twins, you have to be a partnership. You have to be a team.
And well, people with twins, I have found as a pediatrician, I have not experienced it myself. I don't know what I would do with twins because you have to be really organized too, right?
Oh, another thing I had was someone volunteered. It was a doula, and I didn't know this, right? I didn't know that there were postpartum doulas.
Right.
No idea. I thought doulas were just for women who were going to have babies in tubs of water. Okay. That's what I thought. They weren't for people like me who had C-sections. But I think actually, as a mom who's had a C-section, especially if it's unplanned, an emergency, you need a lot of support.
Yes.
Right? Emotional support, because things didn't go as you wanted. And it's really hard to like move around. And it's just hard. It's not just your body. And especially with twins, right? You need that help. So postpartum doula was so helpful. She is the one who said, here, put your pillows this way for your twins. When I had a hard time, I can't breastfeed my twins. Like, she came over and she showed me how to put the pillows around me. You would think I would have figured that out.
Well, no. I don't think these things necessarily come naturally.
Yeah. So she showed me how to put the pillows on the bed, like, then she showed me how to put the pillows on my chair, right? I had that twin pillow. She showed me how to use it because I was like, it's not working right. She showed me how to adjust it with another pillow underneath it. It was really good. So if I know a mom who's going to have a baby, I'm like, you know what? Here's a postpartum doula to help you.
Absolutely. I think everyone should have one. And they're actually starting to pay for postpartum doulas in Illinois now. Yeah. So that's something to look into that can just make that a little bit easier. Again, you also need somebody to support you while you are supporting these babies. And that's the part that we forget in this country usually. Sounds like you were onto it and knew that you needed that support and reached out for it, and not everybody does. I always tell people, just do not say no to any help that is offered to you.
Oh, yeah. I actually had some people coming to do my dishes.
Yeah.
And someone said, hey, let me do your laundry. Yeah. And that's what I would offer a new mom. Like, oh, you know what? I know you probably have lots of baby clothes. Let me come and do your laundry for you.
Totally.
I mean, wash your
Well,
dishes.
yeah. Well, when you do that, probably they love you
Mhm.
forever for doing that. It kind of leads me to my next question, which was what advice would you give somebody else who's in that same situation? And again, knowing that everybody has a different experience
Mhm.
and it's not going to be exactly like yours, but maybe mindset wise, what advice would you give?
What advice would I give? Well, definitely do self care. And for me, like you said, someone offers to help you with washing dishes. At first, like washing dishes. I don't want to have someone come to my house and wash them. Right? Yes, of course. Say yes. Accept things like food. Also wants to do a meal train for you. Let them do it.
Mhm,
What else? I had someone offer to sometimes take me to the NICU, and I let them take me to the NICU.
mhm,
Right? That was
mhm.
really nice of someone to do.
Yeah.
And also, I had someone tell me that, you know what, I'll watch the babies. Why don't you just sleep?
Mm,
And that's what I did.
mhm. Yeah, yeah. That's very good advice. And you can ask for those things too, right? So I recommend that people leave like a running list on their coffee table
Yeah.
and keep a list of all of the things that people who come and ask, "What can I do for you?" It's there. Just tell them, look at the list, pick something off the list and
Yeah. And I
go
also like
for
it
it.
was really important. I let my employer know we're gonna have like many appointments and we
Mhm,
talked about time off, PTO. So
mhm.
this time I wasn't afraid to like ask for things and shoot. This time they were more understanding than my work was 18 years
Yeah,
ago. It was like,
yeah.
oh, maternity leave is unpaid.
Right. Well, can you talk a little bit about that? We talked when we were kind of getting ready for this
Oh, yeah,
interview, but
yeah,
I think it's interesting what you experienced in terms of
yeah.
the maternity versus parental leave.
Yeah. So I would say 18 years ago,
Yeah.
when I had my son and he came early, I could have 6 weeks unpaid, right? Of course, he came early, which meant I was back to work. I only had 1 week of leave after C-section. So, yeah, I was back to work after and with 1 week off with my baby after he was discharged. So, yeah,
Wow.
sad state of affairs. Not a lot has changed for many women, though.
Yeah.
Some of it's still the
Yeah.
same.
Yeah.
Well, now I have 6 weeks of maternity leave plus 4 weeks of parental leave. So my maternity leave starts when the babies are born. And actually, I said, can I just take this another time? Because I knew when my babies were
Yeah.
27 weeks, it was going to be done. And my supervisor was really great. She's like, look, I wish you could, but HR says you can't, you got to take it. But you do have parental leave. And parental leave you can take within a year after having your babies. And that's for men or if you're going to be maybe adopting, right?
Mhm.
You take that
Mhm.
parental leave,
Mhm.
right? So she said, you have 4 weeks, you can take that anytime. And she goes, you know what? Here's a computer. You don't have to do this job in an office. You can do this at the bedside, but take your 6 weeks. And
Yeah.
then after 6 weeks, you know, stay with your babies and do your work at the bedside. And I
Yeah.
said, oh, great, thanks. Still wish it was like Sweden where you like, months off. But
You take what you can get. But yeah, I
exactly.
mean, other countries are much
Mhm.
more I don't know what the word is, but are much better with this particular
Yes, with
thing of
supporting
the
mothers.
families. Yeah. Yep.
In America, this was good. I was like, yes,
That
you.
was good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because at any other, especially as a nurse, I was lucky to have this job and where my job was now, and actually my whole department's now remote.
Virtual.
So
Okay. Yeah.
it ended
That's
up
what
working out.
COVID did. Yeah.
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 So
Yeah.
yeah, I had the computer and I was working at the bedside. So I would pump sometimes and I'd still be working while my babies were in the incubator, especially
Mhm.
in the beginning. I
Yeah.
think I have some pictures of me working in with the pump. I
Wow.
think
Wow.
I also have a picture of me. The baby is here and the pump is there, and then I'm still working.
Oh, wow. You learned to multitask.
I did. I did. As a twin mom, that's really important.
Yes.
Of course, that ended. I kept my parental leave when my second son came from. So then I took 4 weeks, didn't touch the computer.
Okay.
So yeah, I took my 6 weeks and then I had to go back to work, but luckily at the NICU where I
Yeah.
could work on the computer. And then my son came home and then I took my 4 weeks of parental leave. So it was like 10 weeks total,
Okay.
which is better than most people. Could be better, but better than almost all of America.
Yeah. Seriously. And I'm so glad. I mean, it just there's so many moving parts to your story
Mhm,
and, things that you were able to maybe take some steps
mhm,
toward bringing babies home separately, which
mhm,
could be a blessing in some
mhm.
ways, but also really, really difficult
Oh, yeah,
emotionally.
because then it was difficult to see my son. The other
Yes.
one, I couldn't go there
Right.
all the time.
Right.
But then there was a social worker who said you could get a room at Ronald McDonald House,
Mm,
and I didn't know that. Like, I always thought that was for parents of like sicker kids, like
yeah.
not for
Yeah.
NICU parents. She goes, NICU parents can use Ronald McDonald House too, and
Yeah.
this is still during COVID restrictions, but they allowed me, our twin, and my fiance to go to Ronald McDonald House, all of us.
Wow.
So then we were able to stay there, and I would just go upstairs to
Oh, that's great.
bring my milk up there and hang out with him. Yeah, it was a really great place to stay at. And so I'm also indebted to Ronald McDonald House
Yeah. Yeah.
for giving us that time to be with my son.
Yeah. And I think that's just another important thing for anybody who's watching this who maybe is pregnant with twins, or even if it's not twins, if you have a NICU baby or a sick baby, that there are a lot of resources out
Mhm.
there. Hopefully, the NICU or the hospital will alert you to what's out there, but sometimes you may have to look on your own, but take everything you can get again from your friends, your family, and
Ronald
any.
McDonald Home also has breast pumps. So,
Oh, good. Good
yes.
for them.
You have to bring your own supplies, but they have the pumps.
Nice. Nice. That's good to know. It's good
Yeah.
to
So I was
know.
like,
Yeah.
oh, I said, you have pumps too? Because I was going to bring my own. Like, oh, yeah, leave yours at home. We have them.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was
Relief.
really helpful.
Yeah.
And of course, if it, there was one time that I forgot to bring my pump supplies, I just went up and they gave me a whole bunch of pump
Mhm.
supplies. Right?
Mhm.
Like, here, hook this up, breast pump it to Ronald McDonald House. So they feed you at Ronald McDonald House too. It's like staying at a hotel.
Mhm.
But of course, you're not really having fun at the hotel. You're just
Right.
exactly.
But you have a stress taken off of you, can be closer to your sick
Mhm.
child, and yeah.
I mean, because even though we were in Oak Park, it was still hard. Like with my son, I'm breastfeeding. I can't just leave my breastfeeding son and like go a couple hours to. I know they have to be close together.
Right. Right.
So that's what I would
Yeah.
do. I'd breastfeed my son at the Ronald McDonald hotel room, and then I'd go upstairs and I'd hold him and then pump while I was holding him. Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah.
These babies are gonna see all these pictures and be like, "Oh my gosh, my mom is a superstar."
But I admit, I was glad when he came home because I started to get sick of pumping. I have so much admiration for women who keep pumping,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
That is just so hard.
Yeah.
And I was lucky because I could work from home. So I didn't really have to pump anymore. I used to still have to have a nanny, right? To work. But when it was time to eat,
Yep. Yep.
and I would still
No.
work.
Yeah, it's a big difference.
Yeah.
And, I think you were actually kind of lucky, I mean, that your
Hmm.
babies did all nurse,
Yes.
because sometimes that's not the case, especially
Yeah.
when they are getting a bottle for so long.
Yeah, I was afraid because one of the nurses said, just be prepared. This baby might not take the
Yeah,
breast. And so I was prepared. Maybe one
yeah.
day he'll be able to take breast milk in a bottle, right?
Right, right.
And then when it happened where I accidentally fed him, to be honest, I might have done it more than once. They're identical.
Right.
'Cause
I love that that
yeah,
happened. I and I wonder how much of it, honestly, was him seeing his brother doing it.
it might have. They're tiny. He probably like, I want what he has.
Right.
Right? Yeah. So yeah, now they're eating and they're getting milk, but one of my twins does much prefer me still.
Mhm.
The other twin, he comes to me only for comfort and like he likes to nurse right before bed.
Okay. And which one is which? Which
Oh,
one prefers you still, and which one is.
Antonio, he's the one that came home first.
Okay. Yeah.
And Bernardo, he is the one that came home second. So he still likes nursing for me, at night and in between, he'll come over for a snack. I mean, they both want a snack. He likes milk too. So
Yeah.
it gives me a little break, but I'm starting to like miss it a little bit. So
Mhm.
I can tell that it's starting to slow down and they're not coming to me as much. They still come
Yeah.
at night. right?
Yeah.
It's starting to not be as much as it used to be. So,
Yeah. Yeah. I think it can be really hard when the babies are done before you're really ready to be done.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like it was something that really allowed you to be there for them
Mm-hmm.
through the times when you couldn't, when other people were taking care of them,
Yeah.
to have that bond, that really
Mm-hmm.
special bond. What an amazing story. You really rocked it. You're still
Oh,
rocking it.
thank you.
You can see April on my website, some photos of her and the twins, who are just absolutely darling little boys with so much personality,
Yes. Even though
and
they're
so
identical,
different.
they both have different
Right,
personalities.
right. How does that happen?
I
Yeah,
know.
nature versus nurture, but they're getting the same nurture too, right?
Yeah, so I'm not
Yeah,
sure. One is more outgoing, one is more introverted right now.
yep,
I mean, they're still young, who knows, but that's what it seems like. One likes to jump off slides and one is like climbing up the
more
slide
timid.
slowly. Yeah.
Yep. So fascinating. And I bet you'll notice at some point, like one of them actually looks more like mom, and the
Yeah.
other one looks more like dad, but yet they're identical. I mean, there's such fascinating things that happen with that, all the
Yeah,
genetics
I mean,
and
I thought at first I was like, oh, I'm gonna have to give one a tattoo to tell them apart. But no, I can tell them apart easy. My family members can't, but me and
yeah,
my fiance, we can tell them apart easy.
right,
Like, how can you not?
right. You just have to be around them enough to see it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't want to take up too
Yeah.
much more of your time, but there's
Mm-hmm.
2 questions that I
Sure.
ask everyone.
Mm-hmm.
One is, what is your favorite thing either about Oak Park or living in Chicago? Favorite food, favorite thing to do?
Mm-hmm.
Could be before kids, after kids. What do you like most about Chicago?
I like the different museums
Mhm.
here. I'm telling you, one of my favorite things. I love Wonderworks.
Oh, yeah.
I got a
Yeah.
membership there. I got the Climb membership. Oh, we already got our money's worth.
You get it pretty quickly there.
Oh yes, my kids
Yeah.
love it. They come home and they sleep for 2 hours. Recommend.
Awesome. So for those who don't know, Wonderworks is a children's museum play place in Oak Park, and it is amazing,
Love it.
especially for the little ones.
Yes.
Yeah, and you can relax for a few seconds. Not much can happen there to them. Second question is, if you could go back and talk to your 20-year-old self, what life advice would you give her?
Oh, my 20-year-old self. Oh my god. I guess I would say to not be too concerned about what other people think. I remember when I was in my 20s and I was breastfeeding at a restaurant and my friend told me not to do that
Mm,
at a
mhm,
restaurant. Like, oh, you
mhm.
should do that in the bathroom. I mean, would you eat in the bathroom? And guess what I did? I went into the bathroom. I wouldn't do that now. I'm like, oh no, 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 no. You
Right.
go to the bathroom. Funny though, when she had her baby 5 years ago, she totally forgot she said that.
Mhm.
It's like, oh, you're on the
Yeah.
breastfeeding train now? Huh? No,
Did you remind her that she had said that?
no, but I wanted to tell her, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would tell her not to worry about it. I mean, now when I see other moms breastfeeding, I'm like, you know,
Yeah. And I think that's a really cool thing for people to be able to do, is go up to women who are breastfeeding in public and just tell them, "Keep going."
and there's
Again,
more
you
places you can breastfeed now. Breastfeeding friendly. It's nice,
right,
right? Wasn't like
right.
that 10 years ago, but yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting because you really got to see that change and that
Yeah,
progression,
the big
and
shift.
yeah. Still not quite where it should be, but
No.
definitely more accepted and more
Mhm.
supports out there, and yeah, yeah. Well, this has been amazing. Thank you so much for joining me and sharing your story. I'm sure that it resonates with many people. I know that though our stories are all different, we can probably
Yes.
all find some sort of similarities. And I think an important point to what you just said too is, with your friend who changed her tune, is
Yes.
we cannot judge other people when we haven't experienced what they're experiencing, which
Mhm.
is pretty much everyone, because nobody's experience is exactly the same. You don't know where they're coming from,
Mhm.
you don't know how they feel. we have to give ourselves grace. We also have to give other people grace because everybody's different and everybody does it differently. And if you're listening to this and you had a NICU baby and you hated pumping and you stopped pumping, or you needed to stop because you needed time to bond with your baby and not be hooked up to a pump, that's okay. That is what worked for you. And there's no right or wrong here. There's just differences. And when that time does come to an end, April, it's okay to also grieve the end of the nursing
I'm sure part of me
relationship.
would be like, yeah, freedom, but then probably like, oh, they don't.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you have a lot of good memories about it and documentation
Yes.
to be able to look back on it and for them to be able to see as well, because that's one of the interesting things is that kids don't usually remember what it was like to breastfeed or that they did at all, and it can be such a big part of their lives when they're little. Well, thank you so much. Really appreciate you sharing your story. I know it's a lot of very intimate details and it's greatly appreciated.
Thank you.
So I have been hearing a lot of noise and a lot of crying, different sounds coming. So I'm sure your family is waiting for you to join them again.
Jump on me. So.
Well, thank you to all of our viewers as well. Thank you for watching Keeping in Touch, and have a wonderful weekend ahead, and join us for next week's episode of Keeping in Touch. Thank